okay, it's now leave the stream. Okay, no, now it's leave the stream. So today we are happy to have all our dear friends, sisters and brothers from India and other countries of the world today, especially from the Philippines, here in our weekly meeting of Pragya CS Studio. It is as always a pleasure to gather with all of you, even if the gathering is online, so taking this opportunity that this pandemic time has given us. So before introducing our guest, Sister Rekha Nahar, who is going to talk about a very thought-provoking theme called Bridging Our Difference, an Impossible Dream, we would like to start our gathering today with the Universal Invocation. So, dear sisters and brothers, you can be comfortable and close your eyes, and let's repeat together the Universal Invocation. Oh, hidden life, vibrant in every atom. Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature. Oh, hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. So we are very grateful to Sister Rekha because he accepted our invitation to share with us today some thoughts about this topic, breeding our difference, an impossible dream. Sister Rekha Nahar is from Bangladesh, and she has started serving at the Philippines with the Theosophical Order of Service Foundation since January 1989. First, as a United Nations volunteer up to January 1994, assigned to the economically depressed communities in Metro Manila. And after the end of her UN assignment, she stayed with the TOS as a volunteer. She eventually became part of the TOS Board of Trustees with wider work responsibilities. And she has dedicated her entire life to service work to help make this world a better place for all. And with the work that she is conducting, also she is conducting, the TOS Philippines is conducting some public lectures during these times. She has really been an inspiration for all the people that comes to know about her wonderful work and her wonderful dedication to the cause for service. So with no further ado, I invite Sister Rekha to share her thoughts on this thought-provoking subject. Thank you very much for being here today with us.
Thank you, Sister Catalina, for also giving me this opportunity to be with all of you. So I like to greet all of you over there from the Philippines. I'm now in the Philippines. I'm honored to be with you this evening. In December 1990, I was privileged to attend the International Convention of the Theosophical Society, held in the headquarters in Adair. Although it was many years ago, the treasured memories are as fresh as if they happened just the other year. I have wanted to go back over there once again, but it did not happen yet. Now here we are, experiencing a virtual connection. Through these online activities, I get to be in touch with the place I have wanted to go back to for a long time, and that is the beautiful TS International Headquarters. Despite the distance, I get to hear you who are in that part of the world. Now I have an opportunity to share with you the topic. As Sister Catalina mentioned, the topic is bridging our differences, an impossible dream with a question mark. I'll just pause for a few moments and I'll share my slide. Sister Catalina, I think the slide is okay.
Yes, it's coming perfect. Yeah.
Last July this year, I shared this topic in joint lodge meeting organized by the Theosophical Society in the Philippines. So those who were present during that time, I guess it will be a reiteration of the cause, the advocacy that I am deeply concerned about. For others, I hope it will not be a waste of time. If it does, if my sharing this evening in some way brings disappointment to any one of you, I apologize in advance, and I hope in the spirit of brotherhood I will be forgiven if you feel your time would be wasted for this evening. So the topic is once again bridging our differences, an impossible dream. My sharing of this evening will mainly be about my experiences and the experiences of others. I was born in Bangladesh, as Sister Catalina mentioned. From an early age, I observed and experienced different forms of social differences. Some experiences are sad and discriminatory. Since then, I have been asking questions and exploring ways to bridge the gap between these differences. This evening, afternoon, I'm hoping to find answers to my questions together with all of you. When I was a child, I had several questions in my mind related to these social differences. The most persistent questions were, why do religious differences exist? Why few rich and so many poor people in the world? Why do some cultures treat women differently, as if women are second-class citizens? These three questions constantly bothered me and led me to the slum community work in Dhaka, the capital city of Bangladesh, while still a student. Eventually, the search led me to the Philippines, to TOS and TSP, Theosophical Society in the Philippines, working towards finding the answers to questions of my mind. As Sister Catalina mentioned, that my journey started with as United Nations volunteer with UNDP, United Nations Development Program. My search was so strong that eventually I even gave up that UN career and devoted my life to find or to do something towards these social causes or issues. I know it is not that easy to talk about social differences and gaps. Some gaps are very subtle, and it is almost impossible to identify as a gap. Much more now we are here in the Theosophical Society. We are standing on the platform of theosophical teachings. And the strong foundation of the platform is brotherhood. So we might be very comfortable, and we are, even myself, are very comfortable with feeling as if there is no discrimination, nothing. But My sharing to you this evening is beyond the boundary or the platform of the Theosophical Society or Theosophical teachings. So today I will share mainly about the third question, and that is the discrimination against women in some cultures. Our time will not allow to talk about the other two questions, so we focus now our discussion on the third question. The struggle of women to stand up and be recognized as a fellow human beings is a long journey on a very rough road. Even if in this technologically advanced 21st century, in many parts of this globe, women are still suffering from physical and emotional abuse and are also deprived of social recognition. I think just, if I'm not mistaken, just last Sunday, in the same time, same platform, Progress CS Studio organized a talk, and the topic was the challenge, if I recall, the challenges of 21st century. The speaker presented very well how technologically this 21st century has been advanced. And yet, where is the situation, the basic situation, particularly of women? We'll journey, we'll look into it in a short while. On the topic of women issues, our dear brother Tim Boyd, International President of TS, said, and I quote, "There are things in life that are so obvious, so clear, and undeniable that it seems strange there should be any need for discussion. The need to empower one half of the planet's population is such a subject." Nancy Seacrest, our dear sister, International Secretary of TOS, said, and quote, "For centuries, women have been taught to be quiet and subservient, to adjust to whatever life brings them, not to speak out, often called the softer sex, the weaker sex. Women have been told they needed to be protected and even revered. It is a nice thought, but untrue. In fact, women have been downtrodden, disrespected, raped, and sometimes beaten up by the very men who are supposed to be their protectors." Unquote. End of the quote. So here I'll quickly share my journey, part of my journey, my experiences. I was born in a very remote village in Bangladesh, not in the capital city. In a remote village, the experiences of the gender gap started with my schooling and the schooling of my younger sister. Our relatives advised my father not to waste his money to the schooling of his two girls. The reason was the girls are born to spend all their lives in the kitchen of their in-laws' house. There will be no use of their education. But despite those comments, my father sent us, me and my sister, to the school anyway. He gave us the same opportunity to study he did for my two older brothers. So we were equally being educated. Equally, I mean, the same education my two brothers got, we two sisters got the same. But society called my father by different names, that he wasted his money. My experience at Bangkok Airport. From Manila as a transit passenger to Dhaka, Bangladesh, the connecting flight was in the following morning. I was with a hotel voucher for an overnight stay. I went to the visa on arrival area the same way I did in the past years, for more than 4 times. But this time, my visa application was denied because citizens of some countries are considered quote and unquote terrorists. And Bangladesh was one of those countries the immigration officer mentioned. I was holding a Bangladeshi passport at that time. And for that reason, I could not enter the city of Bangkok to go to the hotel. There was a discussion to prove I was not a terrorist and that I traveled the same road and the same way before which he could see stamped on my passport, but no change. I stayed overnight at the airport. My experience in Frankfurt Airport, from Manila as a transit passenger to Brussels to attend an international conference. At the immigration, I was stopped without any clear reason. Most of the conversations of the officers I could not understand because they were not speaking in English. I asked the officer what was the problem. Why this wait? The officer said one sentence in clear English, and that was, quote, I quote, a Bangladeshi lady flying from Manila, landing in Frankfurt, going to Brussels. After there, will enter in France. End of the quote. I asked the officer if the problem was because I came from a third world country and was a woman. I asked him to give back my passport and other papers because I had no interest anymore to enter his country and I would go back to Manila. Only then he welcomed me to Frankfurt. He stamped my passport and he said, welcome to Frankfurt. But before that, he said one more thing. The Bangladeshi lady can speak in English. He was so surprised with that. A young lady in the Philippines, alone. I came to the Philippines almost immediately after my university study, young and alone. In the first year of my arrival here, I was invited to attend the Bangladeshi celebration organized by the ambassador of Bangladesh. I went there alone, of course, because I am alone here. Some men from the diplomatic world came to talk with me. After knowing I came alone in the Philippines, they told me, could you not find any job in Bangladesh? Why here alone? And together with that, they were asking why I was not married. Despite the fact of having a UN visa, a diplomatic visa I was holding at that time, the issues remained a woman and alone. A diplomatic visa did not make any difference to a woman from Bangladesh and alone. So what is wrong if a woman travels alone? Why is she not safe? She is not safe from whom? These questions came in my mind. There are many men who are traveling. As Sister Nancy said, women are not safe from the very men who are supposed to be their protectors. Attributes. What are the commonalities in these experiences of mine? Woman, alone, and from a third world country. I'm grateful to the divine that I did not have to experience severely the way some other women have been going through at their home and also from society. Let us now hear a few experiences of other women. Violence against women. One of the challenges women face is physical safety. Some countries are too unsafe for women. Here is a piece of news published in June 30, 2021. In Honduras, in quote, gang violence, poverty, and corruption are waging a bloody war against women. In the past year alone, a woman has been murdered every 36 hours. Can you imagine? One woman has been murdered every 36 hours, making the country one of the deadliest in the world to be female. My heart melts with this kind of news. So here is the link if you like to check the news. Pay gap. Do you know that it will take 250 years to bridge the pay gap between males and females? Surprising. Yes, this is according to the United Nations Regional Information Center for Western Europe. The report published July 9, 2020 reads, quote and unquote, at the current speed, it will take more than 250 years until women and men receive equal pay. Unbelievable, isn't it? So there is also the link. I suppose, especially those who are from the far side of Bangladesh and India, these pictures are a bit common. We have the brick fields, same work but not same pay. Look at the women carrying the number of bricks. Right side, one man is carrying the number of bricks, but they are not paid the same amount. Until now, I checked. Last July, before I shared this experience, I even called my brother at home in Bangladesh to check. Even the ladies work in the farms, uh, in the agricultural land. Same work the male do, but they are not equally paid. There is difference. You are a girl. Do you know Jeff Bezos? Bezos, I hope I'm saying it correctly. I suppose you do. But I wonder how many of you know Wella Funk. Wella Funk, she was trained for NASA's Mercury program, but was denied the opportunity to go to space because she was told, Wella, you are a girl, you cannot do that. She was equally trained, same as her male counterpart, and yet when the time of travel came, she was told, you are a girl, you cannot do that. She was not chosen to fly in 1960 because of her gender. But now she received the invitation to space from Jeff Bezos at the age of 82. Jeff Bezos is the Amazon, the owner of the Amazon website, Amazon, all those things. You are all familiar, I'm sure. So let's go back a little. At the 1960, when she was young, she could not do that. But at the age of 82, what made Jeff Bezos inviting her? This time, the gender issue did not come in. But that is what is the reason why she is invited? Maybe that's not the point. The point is she was denied despite having the equal training of her male counterpart. She was denied. So I have a question. I don't know how many of you know that there are countries that are known as the most dangerous for women. Now, this danger is not against animals, that there are no animals that the animals eat only women. No. So these countries are dangerous for women against whom? As Sister Nancy said, the very man who are supposed to protect them. Yes, sadly, there are countries. According to the report titled Most Dangerous Countries for Women 2021, there is a list of the top 10 countries which are most dangerous for women. I will not go into the list of 10 countries. It will sadden us the more. But if you want, you might wish to check this link. That how could it be at this 21st century with all this technological advancement? And why I'm mentioning technological advancement, because with technology, I'm sure the education, the culture, we are not in uncivilized or we used to call it kind of barbaric society. We are not. We have all the latest technology. People are going to space, spending billions of dollars, and yet countries still could not keep safe of their fellow counterpart, the other half of the population, as Brother Tim Boyd said. So this is a very recent report. So reading this kind of report makes me asking over and over again, why are some parts of this planet Earth not safe for women? Why? This question I still cannot understand. And with that question, I'm not a person, and I hope our time together is not just we talk and we go away, yeah, and think, and then we are busy in our own world. I hope something could be done in our own small area, wherever we can do something. And some of you might be thinking, Rekha, is a huge thing that it cannot be solved. I am not very sure. Maybe we'll have to explore another time that whether it can be solved or not. Or I hope we can find some answer. We may not, this is not something can be solved in overnight, but at least we started. At least we do something. So there is a mix of extreme scenarios in some countries. On one side, women are modern in terms of fashion and look independent. You can see in the television and the media how independent women looks to be, at least in terms of dress and fashion. But the real independence has not happened, at least not to most women. An example came to my mind, but it has a particular country, maybe I should not mention. But if you are interested, if you are really interested in this area, look at the information. Even the woman who is in the top, almost top level of authority, how the woman has been harassed. What is the reason? Just because she is a woman. The way she dresses up is being criticized. The way she talks, criticized. But why no criticism about the male leaders? Maybe there are, but generally you look at how women in the power, to go up to the power, the ladder of that profession is a journey already. And once there, it's another challenge to be there, because there are so many forces which would try to pull down. The main concern I see before and until now is the lack of basic respect for women by men. I like to read this again, my observation. The main concern I see before and until now is the lack of basic respect for women by men. Respect as a fellow human being. From that lack of respect comes all forms of abuse. Now, I hope none of you get me wrong. I'm not talking about equality. Yes, some feminists do. They say we are equal. Physically, we are not the same. We have a different body, and the body structure allows us gives us certain perimeter. But what I'm talking about is the respect, the basic respect as a fellow human being. And when the respect is not there, when we just look at the woman as a woman who is supposed to be weak, who is supposed to be a sex object, did you see? I am sure you did in the advertisement of alcohol, advertisement of car or a motorcycle, how women are being portrayed. You might be saying, why women agree to be advertised like that? That is a question also. But I like to ask the question of our male brothers, male counterparts. Why women have to be portrayed that way? Are the women only to be in the kitchen only to prepare food and serve? Or other extreme side is kind of sex object? So the question here, what should be done? As I said at the beginning, hopefully together we will find some answer. How should we build the bridge? I like to pause here for maybe less than 1 minute, Sister Catalina and Brother Shikhar. I will be requesting our participants here to write in the chat box what do they think? What could be the, whatever it is, how should we bridge this gap?
Okay, Sister Rekha. So also the mics are opening in case someone wants to share. Yes.
Yes, that is okay.
Anyone who has any idea or thought regarding the question that Sister Rekha has put up on the screen, please feel free to write in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and share it. Then we will proceed with that. Okay. We have.
Or if you want, also you can unmute yourselves and share with us. Okay, there are a couple of comments. There is one comment. Okay, actually both point at the same, education of the right type.
Yeah. Okay, I will wait maybe 10 more seconds. Any more ideas?
Yeah. Okay, couple more of comments. Patriarchy embedded in our structures. Gender sensitive training should be conducted. Imparting spirituality. Through proper understanding from Mr. Brother Esraman. Sharing stories of those who reach heights or breach barriers. Education for gender partnership.
Okay, thank you very much for your sharing. And I have few more slides. After that, we can have open discussion. The question would be now, how do we implement? So we have the answer. How should we build a bridge?
There is one more comment, Sister Rekha.
Yeah.
To educating the men in empathy to women, it seems, and inculcating right values at the family level.
Yes, this is a beautiful thing. Maybe later on, I like to know, because I don't see the name, educating the men in empathy towards two women is a beautiful idea, or important idea, I should say, and inculcating right values at the family level together with the education. Okay, let thoughts come in while I continue. So the most common answer is the empowerment of women through education and employment. The empowerment word became kind of highlight in the past few decades when the feminism became quite active. I don't know what is, my slide is not moving. Okay, it's also said that women need to be in politics to fight for the women's right. Look into the word, the term fight. So I keep on wondering, why do we have to fight? If to man it is natural, why women has to fight? Anyway, I some time ago my grandfather said, you ask too many questions. But how can I not stop asking questions? Okay, then I do not understand why women have to fight for their rights, as I said. Why does it not come naturally as it is for the male? In some countries, there are women presidents and prime ministers in power for several years. Has the situation of ordinary women changed? I can answer that for Bangladesh. We have prime minister, women prime minister for how many years? Since I was almost a young girl. One comes in the power, after some time goes down, another comes. But the general ordinary women life did not change at all, almost none. Not significant as they should have been. So some of you have written education is the key. Yes, is the key, but not only for women, for males also. So there is one brother or sister wrote that to teach or to educate women, a male empathy towards women. So this education is not only for women, and one another also you have written in the chat box is the right education. The education is not to education because I have experienced distorted. I like to read this. I speak about education because I have experienced distorted views of some people without proper education. These people have a diploma of higher education, but they do not have the right attitude about the life and the environment they live in. While discussing this, a very close person I know, he has a PhD degree from a very prestigious university in one of the countries. And yet he keeps on beating up his wife when he comes home. What is to do with the PhD that he has earned when he cannot reconcile his differences with his wife and he has to hit physically his wife? So I'm talking about formal education in a school setting where spiritual principles are communicated and practiced. It's not only just delivering the lesson and end of the curriculum year, but it has to be practiced. Where the differences of religious practices and the gender issues do not come in between learning lessons of life, where cooperation and compassion are being practiced and being observed and practiced. That kind of education we are talking about. So respect and awareness, another area. The kind of education that would teach respect to all. When we respect someone, we listen to the person from our heart. So listening is just not from the ear, physical ear, but from the ear of our heart. We listen to what is being said, not what we wish to hear. When we genuinely listen to each other, all other things fall in the right place. You notice sometimes we are you might have noticed that you are talking with someone and the answer of that person is not exactly what you are saying. It means the person was listening to you, not what you are saying, but what that person wanted to hear. The education will nurture and develop the quality of awareness of the self. The self is the capital S, and the environment, E, is capital E. With awareness and the self comes, with the awareness of the self comes self-empowerment. So earlier we are talking about women empowerment. Here I'm talking about self-empowerment of both male and female with the right education, which will teach the respect. Education enriched with STS, self-transformation seminar. I suppose I like to believe that you are familiar with the self-transformation seminar designed and has been conducted by our brother Rekha, the past General Secretary of the Theosophical Society in the Philippines. He is now the president of the Golden Link College. With this kind of education, the young adults will learn to see each other as fellow human beings, and the social differences will not be part of their vocabulary anymore. You might have also observed our vocabularies, so what kind of words do we use towards women? That also determines our level of respect. Only then, I believe, the bridge to narrow the gap of social differences may not be an impossible dream. The right education, which will teach self-awareness, and then the formal education where the elements of self-transformation will be there and will be taught and practiced. Only then, I believe, the bridge to narrow the gap of social differences may not be an impossible dream. I'm almost the last part of my sharing, and I like to share this, what Dr. Annie Besant, I suppose all of us, we know Dr. Annie Besant is the founder of Theosophical Order of Service. And yesterday, Brother Pedro Oliveira from Australia, he had a I felt very emotional and inspiring presentation about Dr. Annie Besant, how much sacrifice she had gone through and the activities that she has done for particularly for women and education. And beginning of the quote, she said, "Those who can serve best, those who help most, those who sacrifice most, those are the people who will be loved in life and honored in death. When all questions of color are swept away, and when in a free country, free citizens shall meet on equal grounds." In a free country, free citizens shall meet on equal grounds. We are now standing on the free country, at least here in the Philippines and where we are. But the question now, are we now standing on equal grounds as male and female? Echoing Dr. Annie Besant, I look forward to that day when no one has to suffer from social differences, gender gap, and any form of social discrimination. And I like to repeat, any form of social discrimination. All shall live in harmony and shall work for a common good. Brothers and sisters, I end my sharing with this vow of Dr. Annie Besant, which is to cure the pain at my own heart by soothing the pain of others. I like to repeat, cure the pain at my heart by soothing the pain of others. May the vow of Dr. Annie Besant be ours too, and let us, in kinship, make this world a better place for all. With our joined hearts and hands, bridging social differences might not be an impossible dream. I thank you all for giving me an opportunity to share my journey and my advocacy. And I hope wherever we are, whatever countries we might be right now, in our own small way, we can make the big difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Rekha, for such a thought-provoking presentation. I would not just say presentation, because this was something that you have in your experience. So it is more than just a presentation. It involves your emotional and mental uh, feedback also on all the situations that you have faced, and in general the women face all around the world. So I'm sure we are very, very grateful that you have shared this issue, and many of our, okay, you can hear some of the sounds in the background. That's some of the our friends here in Adyar. So they are nearby. So our delegates may be having some questions or inputs on this really important and significant subject, which we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So we open the floor for everyone to, if they have any questions or comments to make, they can unmute themselves and ask the questions in the chat box, or they can ask directly.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, very good evening. Ma'am, your class, your sharing of experience was very good. I was just thinking, we are in theosophy and we have learned theosophy. And myself, I am in teaching profession. I am a college professor for the past 25 years. But we come from a state in India which is having 100% literacy. So your background and this background is entirely different. But the problem or the difference is one and the same. As you discussed, this disparity or discrimination is there. And United Nations Sustainable Goal, theoretically, we speak to the students and everything is there. But the transformation, what we expect, is not coming through. This is something we cannot share with the normal realm of people. So according to your spiritual background, how did you help? How did it help you to make this transform in your area?
Thank you, brother. May I know, are you referring the area that you are saying that 100% literacy rate? Is it in part of India?
Yes, that is in Kerala, the state Kerala in southern India that has 100% literacy rate. Brother Balaji is from there.
Mhm.
And we face the same problem. Actually, we same the same problem what you told in Bangladesh and all. We face it. See, 100% literacy is there, women is there, education is given. But what we call the education is not the real education. We teach something, we teach something in the syllabus. And actually, in my case, I was desperate in this profession. So can you just comment on this area?
Yeah, I am somewhat familiar with this situation, brother. Although Kerala, so far I have not visited there, but I heard about Kerala that women's situation is much more better there in terms of respect and recognition and authority in the society. Is much more better than other parts of India and Bangladesh in that sense. And yet, the real education is not really happening. So your question is, how am I handling it? I am still in my journey. I don't know how much impact I am able to make, but maybe quick sharing. I am right now based here in the Philippines. So Philippines actually much more, women's situation is much more better than the place I come from, Bangladesh. And yet there are still discrepancies and differences are there. Rate and pay gap and all those things are there. In Bangladesh, I tried to do something in my village. After I settled down here in the Philippines, then I would go back and do something. So I started giving scholarship to the boys to go to school because I still believe that no matter, yes, in the United Nations report or in all the government report, the women literacy rate is very high. But in reality, they are not actually literated. If they just know how to write their name, and that's it, that they count it as a part of the literacy rate. So the real literacy is not there. So I said to bridge this gap is the boys who have to be educated, formal education, and we just did not give scholarship and they go to school and I said, but we had learning sessions with them to slowly impart this theosophical teaching, the teachings of brotherhood, not necessarily mentioning the theosophy because the area there is a very much Muslim dominated place. So I think you can understand. But without mentioning the terms and the difficult terms, but the essence was there. But I was criticized very badly. I was criticized very badly by the male counterpart. It was sad. Yeah. Did I give up? No, I did not give up. I still continued. And how I was criticized, you might be surprised, the names that they called me and all those things. I am so grateful to my parents. They did not give up. They were with me, especially my father. He said, I will be with you all the way. The same way I was with you when you were young and I gave you the education. Now, if you want to do something, I'll be with you. So I continued for a while despite all those. So after some time, those who were calling me names and all those things, they stopped. Because they saw what they are saying was not happening. Because I had no agenda, nothing, simply to us to give the education. Because as I mentioned, the village I came from is very poor. But it just so happened I had to stop after a few years because my both parents died and I do not have support over there. So I couldn't continue. Here in the Philippines, I think some of you know we are into education through Theosophical Order of Service. We are putting up schools because we believe is the formal education, bring them together under the same roof, male, boys and girls, and let them learn to respect each other as a fellow human being. It's not just they will hear lecture and go home, but they have to live by that in that environment. So here we are somewhat, I would not claim the huge success, but we see the change in the young people. We hear the feedback from the parents. The element of respect is there. So that much I can tell to you, brother.
Thank you, Sister Rekha. And in the same line, along the same lines, we have some of the comments in the chat box when you asked that question, that how to bridge that gap. So we have by Sister Meharangi's Baria that by inculcating right values at the family level.
Yeah.
Sister Archana Taral Munshi, as just you said, that children learn by observing. So at home first, not just put that thing in their syllabus, school syllabus, just to memorize and pass the exams, but instead to apply in their life. And I think here also we have to make a difference between literacy and education, because literacy you can give, I mean, literacy in no way means that the person is growing as an individual human being. Also, Dr. Sushma Srivastav writes that equal behavior with male and girl child at home, as you yourself shared your experience that your parents did, and we come to know about so many real life examples regarding that. And we have one more comment by Brother Emmanuel Al-Kahar. Okay, he says that by putting the right people in the position of lawmaking, so they can formulate relevant socio-economic policies to eliminate inequality, if there is any, in terms of income, education, employment, community safety, etc. And also, Sister Shehnaz writes that I feel that if Sanskrit is taught at a very young age, Gurukul system of education imparted and true values taught at a young age, cooperation instead of competition would definitely improve the quality of the education system. And I think one point that you very significantly raised during your talk was ultimately everything comes down to lack of respect for the fellow human as a fellow human being, not just because of difference in gender, should not be any reason for different behavior. So that was one of the very important point. And anyone else who would like to ask or share any query? Or Sister Rekha, you would like to comment on these things that people have written?
Yeah, for Emmanuel, he's my brother here in the Philippines. I understand what he's saying, formulating law. I'm not disagreeing with you. We fondly call him Mao, Brother Mao. However, we have actually so many policies. United Nations has created so many policies, agenda, you name it. But the implementation, who is implementing and how it is being implemented? Yes, those are helpful. Of course, those are the guideline and go by it. At least there is a map how to, from here to here, we will reach that goal. But the implementation, I can say it as I have been part of this discrimination. As the karmically, you might say in the theosophical term, it's our karma, but it doesn't mean we will not try to do something. That's my point. It doesn't mean that I am now in this part of the karma as a woman, and okay, I wait for next life and I'll get back to you. And so this karmic cycle will never end. So we have to do something. Yes, I believe laws will help, policies will help, but the implementation. The at home, some of you have said that the education starts at home. That's really true. And again, maybe it doesn't happen in the theosophical family where the theosophists are there, but you might have noticed in other family when the wife, the mother of the family talks, and the father would say, oh, stop, you know nothing about it. And he would say this in front of the children. So how the children will respect the mother, and in return, when the boys become bigger, get older, they also do the same thing to their wife or their fellow counterpart. What I really cannot understand, one thing perhaps, I guess it bothers also all of you, when these gang rapes happen. It really, I cannot understand that. Where does it come from? I'm not saying there is no violence against man. Actually, the other time I presented, there was our brothers said, oh, there is also violence against man. Yes, there is. Actually, some parts of the world are not either safe for the man. But look at the statistics, look at the report. Which one is more dominant and serious and sad? Worse is the female. Is it because we are not physically strong? That is why we should be abused like this? I do not understand. So generally, yes, there is one nice thing also. So all the comments you have said are really direct to the point and solving the problem. Somebody, I could not get the name. Sharing stories of those who reached heights or breach the barriers. Yes, that will be really example. Then education for gender partnership. I think that's a very beautiful term, gender partnership. How many times we address each other that we are partner? I hear it sometimes. Oh, we are partner. Let's say there is a joint project. I project with male and female. And sometimes, again, you might notice those projects is the woman who puts her heart and soul and her life, but who gets the name? You notice that it would be usually, no offense meant to any of my brothers here, it usually called the project of the man, is the male partner's name come first. Even look at the children. How are we introduced? Who is your father? I am told that I am the daughter of my father, but I am the daughter of my mother. My mother gave me birth, not my father. But that is how the society is being governed or structured. The next question, perhaps we need to, I hope all of us will come up into an action of how it can be slowly, but steadily, and effectively. Now that we have identified is the right education and should start from home, how do we now implement? Let it not be a evening talk and we go home happily and we happily live ever after. Let the story not end that way, but let the implementation continue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sister Rekha ji, for sharing your views on these comments. And along the same lines, I would like to share also, as you said, like if the children do good, it's the name of the father or something like that. But now even the laws are being changed, and even the Supreme Court here, at least that it has allowed that if a woman wants, like suppose for a baby, if she doesn't want to write the name of a father, it is completely okay. There is no not a compulsory thing to write the name of the father. And also inheritance, laws of inheritance, earlier it was only the property or something used to go to the sons, and the daughter were supposed to be going to the in-laws. But now the laws are implemented that a daughter has equal rights as a son in the ancestral property. And I think, as in Mahatma letters, Mahatma have once mentioned that it is not by going to Ladakh that people can come close to them or going to Himalayas, but by removing all sorts of conditionings from the mind and taking part in some kind of social reform. And he gave the example of girl-child marriage at that time, 1880s or 1885. So even Mahatmas are, they are working for that cause also. So that gives us a hint that if there are any petitions or any awareness drives, which are, if we see, we should, as a theosophist, we should support that cause. In whatever capacity, whatever is our limited capacity we can support, we should support such causes against, any kind of discrimination for that matter, women, children, or old age people. So thank you so much. And Katrina, you would like to?
Yes, Sister Rekha, first of all, I thank you very much because this is a very important subject. And as yes, you were pointed, we still have to talk about this in the 21st century. And I was thinking as theosophists and people involved in the spiritual path, of course, we have to take the example of the great Annie Besant or Blavatsky, that they have also in their times pursued a very, very strong work regarding the women empowerment. And that is a very important thing because as theosophists, whenever we see an injustice, an imbalance in the world, it's our duty to go and try to solve it. And this brings me also to the issue of the right education. What is the right education, and how, if we consider as part of the right education, the spiritual education and inculcating in the young people, in the children, how really us as a human being are composed and formed, how actually all of us come from the same source, how actually all of us are brothers in the light that is proper to all of us, and how, I mean, just by explaining to children and young the constitution of the human being, the concepts like karma and dharma, that everyone has its their own path, their own mission. All those things can also contribute to bring that gender equality, and that because the children and the young people will understand since an early age how the gender thing is not, or so like one duty or another is not more important because a man does it or a woman has to do it, but because it's the duty that it brings balance to our society, because it's the dharma that we are supposed to fulfill, because as human beings we bring our own story through our all our lives, and we are supposed to fulfill a mission in every existence. So I guess in the right education, as theosophists and as in our case, a part of theosophical schools, and for those all those people that are wanting to begin such kind of projects, or even in the family, the theosophical families with our sons, our daughters, our children, we can begin also to inculcate and put all these ideas that we don't need to do it in a very complicated manner, because I guess for children, all this is very natural. They will understand this very natural. Just looking at the balance of the nature, they can understand such kind of subjects. So I guess that is also part of the right education and spiritual and theosophical education that can bring a light on how to proceed to really make that equality a possible dream, a dream come true. Thank you very much for your lecture.
Okay, thank you, Sister Rekha. And there are a couple of comments from our delegates. Thank you, Sister, for your great inspirational talk. And thank you for such a thought-provoking and introspecting session. All the best wishes. And there are many more. But if there are no more questions, before going to closing, any few final comments from you, Sister Rekha, just to close this session?
Again, I'm very grateful and honored to be part of this evening and sharing my time with all of you. As I mentioned at the beginning, I have been wanting to go back to Adar for a long time, but it did not happen. But at least now we are connected, and not only now, almost all your sessions I try to join, listen, to be connected. The topic again is actually very emotional for me, because the experience, not only that I have experienced in my life, but when I see how women are suffering out there, my heart cries for all suffering. But here I might be saying, why mentioning only women? As I said before, look at the statistics, look at the reality, what is happening. And how can we claim to be a civilized society when the other half are being not really respected? The word is respect. So with that, I like to believe the Theosophical Society will take jointly will take a major role or some actions in addition to doing something from our family level. Let's go out and do something in social level. I like to believe that someday we'll be more active in those areas. I know TOS in India has been doing great job. In other areas, I believe it needs to be expanded. So that's only my wish, that let us join our hands and our hearts, and let's do something more, that it will sooner or later. Maybe the fruit we might not see now in this time, but at least we started. So thank you all.
Thank you, Sister Rekha, for sharing your experiences and at the same time inspiring all of us to do whatever we can in our lives to work for this cause. So on behalf of Pragya CS Studio and all our viewers, we extend a sincere, heartfelt gratitude.
Just one more thing. I guess I saw in the chat someone was requesting your email. If you can give your email ID, I guess it was Brother Balaji from Kerala. So maybe if you can just type it. Thank you.
Do I write it here in the chat box?
Yeah, you can write in the chat box.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, before moving on to the closing prayers, we would like to share the information about the next joint meeting between Madras Theosophical Federation and Pragya CS Studio. And here we have the email of Sister Rekha Nahar, POTHI KREKHA, OTKRekha@gmail.com.
It's Pothik Rekha. Those who are Bengali speaking, I think you will know. Pothik is the traveler, and Rekha is my name.
Wow, that's great. Nice to know. Thank you. And here we have our next event on 3rd of October. That is next Sunday. Madras Theosophical Federation and Pragya CS Studio cordially invite you to a talk in English on philosophy of music, 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time and 11:30 a.m. GMT and 7:30 p.m. Manila time. And it will be presented by Sister Jayashri Kannan, who is also a resident of Adyar. And please be there. It would be great to have all of you for this session. And now, coming to the closing prayer, let us come together and use all our will and thought power for the welfare of all the beings. May all become happy. May none fall ill. May all see auspiciousness everywhere. May none ever feel sorrow. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you once again. Best wishes and have a great, pleasant week ahead. All the best wishes. Stay safe. Thank you, Sister Rekha. And also, I forgot to thank all our delegates who attended from India and abroad for this session and made this session vital and vibrant. Thank you, everyone. See you all next Sunday, 5 p.m. And if anybody wants to unmute themselves or say, we still have about 1 minute, after which we will close the meeting.